Welcome to the F1 2024 Belgium Grand Prix preview and predictions. Jack, what will Spa have in store for us after a very tantalising Hungarian Grand Prix?
A very lacklustre Grand Prix.
Why is that?
Boring. Boring in the sense that I think it'll be a Max Verstappen comfortable win.
Well, I mean, we're due a Max Verstappen domination, aren't we? We haven't had one in it.
Yeah.
A few weeks.
Belgium and Max seem to have an affinity.
They do. I mean, as we'll get onto with the predictions, I have not predicted that. And I'll give my reasons why. But I'm guessing yourself has. I mean, let's just move straight in. Last season, as you mentioned, it was a Max Verstappen domination. Verstappen, Perez, and Leclerc on the podium. Both Red Bulls at least 10 seconds up the road from anyone else. Max even more. Hamilton finished in the top 5, which was pretty good for Mercedes. And Aston Martin didn't do too badly either, but as we know, they were a lot better last season. So it was a pretty, Red Bull dominated track last season. I don't think it will be this season. And I'll give my reasons why. But either way, let's get straight into our predictions. So what we do is we're going to predict pole. Then we will predict our top 3. And then our biggest flop of the weekend. And our biggest star of the weekend. Who will impress us the most? First, Jack, I'm going to come to you. Who do you think will get pole position for the Belgian Grand Prix? Or is that a silly question?
Silly question, it's Max.
Max Verstappen, okay, so, I mean, maybe just expand upon that. Why is Max going to dominate?
Because Max has that ability, like the ability that Lewis has to find a couple extra tenths at Silverstone. Max has that ability around Belgium.
Yeah.
And when Max has a car that's remotely in a fight at the front, he'll put that 2-3 tenths clear of everyone.
That's fair.
Max finds places in Belgium that others can't.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see him just go.
Okay, that's fair enough. For pole position, I've gone with not Max Verstappen. I've gone with George Russell. No, it's not just because he did that ridiculous lap in the Williams back in the day. Although if you're going to go off anyone to do well in qualifying, that's a very good indicator. It's not because of that. It's because Belgium... One thing I was surprised with Mercedes this year is they were very good around Silverstone. And typically, the last few years in these new regs, Silverstone type tracks, high speed corners, a lot of straights has never really been their thing. Right?
No, not in the past couple of years.
And Belgium is, in a lot of ways, quite similar to Silverstone. You got them high speed corners, a lot of straights, swooping corners. You have your bus stop in there, and your first corner is quite tight. But apart from that, it is quite a similar track to Silverstone, in terms of the sort of average speed of a corner and a lot of straights, as I mentioned. And Mercedes were quick around Silverstone. Very quick.
Oh, God. Ridiculously quick.
And we know George has missed a Saturday. I just think somehow he's going to put it on pole. I do not think Mercedes have the race pace, however. I do believe McLaren and Red Bull will have better race pace, just generally based off how the season has gone so far in general. But I do think George will put it on pole.
Okay.
Let's move on to your top 3 then. Who's your top 3 in the race?
Max first.
Yep.
Lewis second.
Ooh.
I went off the Silverstone theory.
Did you? Okay.
One.
Yeah.
And then Lando third.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. Why Lewis second?
Silverstone theory.
The Silverstone theory.
I think Mercedes will have a car. Like we saw them a little bit offbeat in Hungary compared to the McLarens and the Red Bull.
Yep.
But I think they'll be thereabouts in overall pace this weekend to McLaren and Red Bull.
That's fair.
In terms of, I think he'll be there with Lando, Oscar. Maybe Perez might be up there, to be fair. He usually goes okay around Belgium. George, I think Mercedes will be that team that's ahead of Ferrari this year this race instead of with Ferrari.
Yeah.
Like they were in Hungary. So that's why I went with Lewis. And Lewis's ability around Belgium, similar to Max, he is really good.
Well, I mean, Lewis is ridiculous anywhere, so I mean, you know.
Yeah.
My top three, I've gone with George Russell in third.
Yeah.
I think he won't convert the pole, but I do think it will aid him to get a podium. I've gone with Max second, and I've gone with Lando to win. I just think Lando will be out for revenge, and I've got this gut feeling that he'll want to win ASAP no matter what the cost.
Yeah.
And I put Max second, even though that Red Bull doesn't seem to be on pace at the moment with the McLarens, even with the Mercedes in some circumstances. I just think, like you mentioned, Max has those extra couple of tenths around Belgium. So if that Red Bull isn't on pace over one lap or even race pace with the McLaren or even the Mercedes, I still think Max will pick up at least second. At least at the very minimum third. I don't see him not being on the podium in this race. He could even win, like mentioned. So, yeah, Max is ridiculous around here. I just think Lando will win. I think he's got that sort of I need to win mentality right now. And hopefully he pulls through. And especially after what happened in Hungary.
The problem with that mentality is I need to win right now. It could cause the odd mistake.
It could.
And he needs
right.
He does need to watch it in terms of he's got to keep it under control and let the win come to him.
Yes.
Because the win will come to him.
Yeah.
100%. But
yeah.
he just don't overdo it, especially around Belgium. Don't overdo it.
Yeah, definitely. This was one of the hardest top threes to predict, actually, all season, because we've come off Hungary and a couple of races where the running order just is so unpredictable.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, Lewis could be on the podium. He's on a good run of form at the moment. You can't count him out. You can't even count Perez out. Perez had a decent race in Hungary and he goes well around Belgium. You can never count Leclerc out. Sainz can pull out a good race. Oscar Piastri's just won, and neither of us have put him on the podium.
Oscar's there.
Lando, obviously, as well, we know. Verstappen. It's really hard to predict this. So it's one of the hardest top threes, I think, all year to predict. But I mean, if any of us get any of them right, I'll be very impressed. But who is going to be your biggest star of the weekend then?
Well, soon as I don't think that Red Bull is going to be light years ahead.
Yep.
I do think the McLaren and Mercedes may be slightly quicker, maybe just on pace. But I think the fact that I'm thinking Max is going to dominate it, I'm going to give my star to Max.
Fair enough. I mean, that's the first time you've ever said that.
I know.
Man's wearing a Mercedes top, and he said Max is my star of the weekend.
It'll probably be the only time.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, if you're going to give Max star of the weekend anywhere, it will be the place where he manages to win despite everything being against him. And at the moment, everything is against him. With the car, the pace of the McLarens, the structure in that team seems to be falling apart. We saw how frustrated he was with his team and everyone in Hungary.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem a lot of fun at Red Bull at the moment. So if he manages to dominate and do a perfect race, I mean, you got to give it to him.
Exactly.
Yeah. My biggest star of the weekend, actually, I'm going to give it to a team, not an individual driver. I'm going to give it to Williams. I just think I got this feeling they'll go well, and I think Albon will score a point or two, maybe.
They do sometimes go quite well, don't they? I mean, again, if you go off Silverstone's theory, they should be thereabouts.
Yeah, and I've got a feeling, once again, after Albon in Hungary, where he wasn't too happy with the team and the strategy, I think there'll be a big emphasis this weekend on making sure the strategy is right for Albon.
Yeah.
And if Williams are quick, which hopefully they are, he'll sense an opportunity to score some valuable points for the team. So
yeah,
I've gone with Williams, and I've gone with Williams in general, not just Albon, because I do think Logan Sargent possibly might pick up a 12th or a 13th, which could be quite good for Williams and his confidence. So I've gone with them as a whole. Who's your biggest flop?
Carlos Sainz.
Ooh, why?
Now, don't get me wrong. I think Carlos struggles around Belgium.
Okay. Okay.
Like in general, I
Okay.
think he's always had a struggle. Was it last year? He got into a little bit of an incident.
Yeah, he didn't finish the race last year.
Yeah, I don't know. I've just got a feeling he's gonna keep getting in a few more scrapes on Belgium. I just don't think him and Belgium gel at all.
Pure vibes.
It is pure vibes. That
Pure
one.
vibes. I love that.
Pure vibes, but I think something's just gonna happen to Sainz.
No, but to be fair, this season is pure vibes. With how close it is, you genuinely just can't predict it. So
yeah,
yeah, fair enough. Pure vibes. I get that. I've gone with Aston Martin. Once again,
Aston Martin. Again, if you go off Silverstone.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Silverstone theory. They've had a very good Hungary weekend for their standards this season. I just think if they do anything other than score at least 1 point, it's gonna be a flop for them.
Yeah.
So,
well, they got RB breathing down the necks now.
Well, exactly. You know, they've got to really step on the gas, and if they're nowhere near the points, it's gonna be what the hell's going on. They've, you know.
Yeah.
So, I think, Aston Martin are gonna be my flop of the weekend, I think. So, but either way, that is our preview and predictions for the Belgian Grand Prix. Any final thoughts going into this weekend? Any bold prediction you want to throw out there, just for the heck of it?
Valtteri Bottas will be battling for points.
All right, okay, I feel that. I hope Bottas does. I hope he does. I mean, probably not.
Bold, that one.
That's very big and bold because that's probably definitely not going to happen. Either way, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to tune in for the streams. We'll be live for the qualifying and the race as usual. And Jack, I'll see you in a bit.